Hello, it's Steve Lindsley. Welcome to my shop. This platter, ceramic platter, was made by Laurie, who's the better half of my pottery instructor, Leon. The video is probably not doing it justice, but it's a real nice, it's got a real nice decoration on top of it. It's about 14 inches or so in diameter. And I put some pictures in the video so you can get a better idea of it. So she made the platter, and then they put a foot on the bottom of it to give it some lift up off the table or whatever. And unfortunately, during the firing, the foot cracked. You can't see it, but it's got some cracks there on it. So Leon asked me if there was any way I could turn a wood foot to go over top of that to hide that, but yet still, make the platter very nice. So that's what I came up with, which is two segmented rings of walnut. I hollowed out the inside of it so that that foot would drop down inside of it. So when that goes over there like that, I think it makes a nice, if I can flip it over without having an accent in here. So I think it makes a nice accent. So walnut makes a nice accent to that color of that platter. So it was a lot of fun. It was a fairly straightforward project. So hopefully the Leon and Laurie approve. I'll take it back to pottery class tomorrow night and see what they say. So hopefully it's a winner. So please stay tuned, and I'll show you how I made this foot for this ceramic platter. Okay, we're going to use a wedgie sled to cut the rings. I got it set for a 12 segment ring. So first thing to do is trim off the end to get the angle set on the first piece. I got the stop there set for the width of the segments, and it's just a matter of running them through the saw and getting this number of 12 segments that I need. I got another video on my channel on building and using the wedgie sled, so if you check that out if you get a chance. It was invented by a guy named Jerry Bennett, and if you search for his name on YouTube, you'll also find a video that where he talks about it as well. So it really works great, and you get perfect rings every time. Well, once you cut the segment, you got to glue them together. So I usually do a dry fit just to make sure everything's coming out the way I want it, and also to set the size of the clamp. So it's using some Tight Bond Ultimate to glue them together, and it's pretty straightforward. Put the glue on, put them back in the clamp, let it dry, and away you go. Alright, this is a 2-ring project, so this is the first ring. I got a waste block on the screw chuck, and I'm just going to use some hot glue to put this piece on. I don't expect to be a lot of stress on it, and I want to be able to get it off without a lot of fuss. So I'm just going to head and put that on there, and I'll get the hot glue gun and put some hot glue on it, and that'll hold it during the construction of this piece. Alright, now that the first ring's on there, I can go ahead and put some glue on the second piece. It's just a matter of spreading it out and then gluing it together and letting the glue dry. I got the piece in a chuck with some larger jaws on it. The chuck is actually on a revolving tail center kind of thing. I forget exactly what it's called. I get a lot of questions on it, so I'll put a link to it down in the comments. I bought this particular one at Penn State, but I've seen them at Woodcraft, and I'm sure you can get them elsewhere. They work really great for putting segmented turnings together. The glue's dry, so it's time to start working on this piece. I want to set the inside diameter, so I got a pair of calipers set to what I want that to be. Just a matter of touching the caliper on the left, making a mark, and then looking at the right side until you get that right piece of the caliper to match up with the circle that's the mark that's going around there. Once you do that, then you know you got it centered. I'm going to use a square nose scraper on this. It looks kind of funny because what I've done is I've actually ground the side of the scraper. So the side of the scraper is at 90 degrees to the end of the scraper. So if I use it and go in straight with the side, I'm getting a 90-degree piece cut at the bottom. So it comes in kind of handy, especially if you're working on like boxes or a piece like this where you want it to be maintain the edge and do 90 degrees. So works out pretty handy. Here I'm going to do some layout on this piece. I want the inside wall to be a 1/4 of an inch thick. So I'm going to use my little ruler there and lay out a 1/4 of an inch over from the inside diameter there. And then I want the hollowed out piece to be 1 inch wide, so then I just make a mark on the other side that's 1 inch. And then I'll define that area with I'll just use a parting tool to define that area, and then we'll come back and hollow that out later on. Before I start taking off wood in the inside of this piece, I thought it'd be a good idea if I round over the outside. So I'm just using a 3/8 inch bowl gouge, and we're going to kind of rough this piece out and get the corners knocked off the 2 rings and get it round. So when I do go back to do some finish turning on it, it'll be a lot easier. Okay, now I can go back to the center. So I'm just going to use my little scraper I got there and my parting tool to hollow this out down to the depth. I want about 1/4 to a 1/2 inch on the bottom, left on the bottom. So I'm just going to hollow it out till I get it down to that thickness on the bottom, and then I'll be good to go. Okay, here's the platter that we're making this base for. It actually has a base on the bottom of it, but it had some cracks in it, so we're trying to cover that up. So what I had to do was the inside piece, I beveled each one so that that would fit tight against the bottom of the platter. And the second thing I did was made this center one is a little shorter because this inner part of the platter here is higher than the outside edges. So the goal is to get it so that it fits on there fairly good. I might have to do a little sanding on the edge of it or something there to get it to make a real tight fit. Plus the bottom of the platter isn't exactly flat in places, so I think when I get it done and get it off of here, I'll probably do some handwork along the edge to make it match the contour of the bottom of the platter here. So the next thing I want to do is shape up the outside here, and then we can turn this around on the lathe and finish up a little bit on the bottom, and we'll be good to go. Okay, it's time to do some final shaping on the outside. Segmented turnings, one of the reasons I like doing them is when you're turning the outside like this, you're really turning side grain. But really not dealing with any end grain or anything, so it really turns nice. And in this case, I'm just using a round nose scraper, and the chips were coming off in long streamers. It was really walnut is a real nice wood to turn. So we'll just do some final shaping with the scraper, and we'll be good to go. Time to take the piece off the waste block, so I'm going to use a skew to work away at that hot glue I put on there. The trick is not to let the piece fly off and fly around the shop and ruin our hard work so far. So fortunately I was able to get it turned down, and then it came right off and no worse for wear. Alright, I got the chuck mounted on the headstock, and I got the piece being held securely there, so I'm just going to use a round nose scraper to clean up the bottom and dish it out a little bit. I want it to be able to sit on the outside rim and not be wobbly when it's sitting on the table. So just work away at it, clean it up, and we're good to go. I sanded the piece to 180, and I'm going to put some dye on it. Walnut tends to lighten up over time, and I want this one to maintain its color. So I'm going to put a little dye on the outside edge of this, and then we'll put some polyurethane on it as the final finish. At this point, I'm thinking to myself, I probably shouldn't leave that dye that's just sitting there on the ways of the lathe. But did I do anything about it? No. So you can kind of guess what's going to happen next. Yep, it not only went in one shoe, it went into both shoes and all over the floor. So it was a mess, but I got it cleaned up. Okay, that's how I made this little foot to go on this platter. It's, like I said, it's 2 segmented rings of walnut, hollowed out on the inside so it fits up, and it's hollow on the inner side so you can see the bottom and see her signature on the bottom of the platter. So anyway, it was a fun project. So hopefully it meets their expectations. So I thank you for watching. Please go ahead and click that subscribe button down here someplace, and you'll get notified of any future videos I post. If you're interested in wood turning or woodworking, I have several videos on on my YouTube channel here. So please take a look at some of those, and hopefully you'll find something that interests you. So thanks again for watching, and take care. We'll see you again soon.